Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Out of the Park Baseball 23 at the Minnesota Twins. Today we're going to be doing the draft, and I'm going to be just going through it with you guys in this video, and you'll kind of see how I think about the draft. And we'll probably do somewhere between 5 to 10 rounds of it on the video. We'll kind of see how the time is at that point, and then go from there. So we'll go ahead and start the draft. I definitely have some targets in mind coming into this. Some of the couple guys is Chase DeLauter is somebody that I would love to get because of how developed he is. I mean, this is a guy, not AAA, but you could play him in AA right now. And the 55 outfield range is enough to play center, but very good in left and right field. Drew Jones, we're not going to get. Elijah Green, we're not going to get. Cam Collier is somebody that I think has a decent chance of falling to us, who I really like. This is a guy who can play at third base pretty well. I love these three middle ones, and contact avoid Ks are probably enough to not be terrible. And fly ball hitter Pull, this is a guy who's going to hit a lot of home runs in the league. At age 17, having 40 home run power already, that's a guy that I really like. So we'll kind of see if some of those fall to us. I'd low-key love to get Dylan Lesko. He won't fall to us. But this is the guy who in my Out of the Park 21 Orioles sim became an absolute monster. Actually ended up as an 80 overall starting pitcher who was an ace for multiple years for me. But let's go ahead and do the first couple picks and kind of see who is available for us. First overall pick is Dylan Lesko to the Baltimore Orioles. We'll see if he develops the same way that he did for me. I'll draft next for Arizona is Drew Jones. I'm going to guess Elijah Green will probably be next. Yep. Okay, so that's kind of those first big three off the board. So kind of this is what the mock draft is projecting. They're projecting us to take Cole Young, who is probably not a guy I will actually take, but Jones and Green and Lesko are off the board. I'm hoping for one of DeLauter or Collier to fall to me. We'll see if that actually ends up happening or not. Pittsburgh, Tamar Johnson, that's good to get him out of... Well, this was the guy who was projected to go below us in the mock draft. It's a good bat. Can't play shortstop probably, which is unfortunate. But this is a very good prospect who's a good second base, shortstop. Second base, third base, first base, corner outfield. A good bat. That'll play for sure. I'll draft for Washington. They take Robert Moore. Okay. This guy I don't think is very good. He's good defensively, good work ethic. Maybe this bat TCRs into something better. But this is not a guy who is on my radar at all in the first rounds. So now DeLauter does go at pick 7, which means it's just the Cubs that can really hurt me here. And they don't do it. Okay, that's really good. So they take Brandon Berea, who's a guy who I think is going to be really good. The bonus demand probably means I wouldn't have been in on him, but this is a very good pitcher for sure. And this does make my decision, I think, fairly easy in that it will be Cam Collier. Part of the reason for taking Collier here is the money. So one of the things that I did this year that I haven't done in the past but I wanted to try out doing was basically not pre-budgeting for the draft or for international free agents, just because then it's not money that's kind of already pre-calculated in, but then you sort of have to remember to work around it, which I don't think I did super well here, considering I think especially the Trey Mancini trade is really coming back to bite me right here. In that I don't think I can feasibly go after maybe some of these pitchers who are pretty good up here. I mean, Kumar Rocker, who famously didn't sign with the Mets before, even after being a top 5 pick, I mean, this is a guy who you could put him in your major league bullpen right now and be okay with it. I mean, even AAA, like that's a guy that would be really good. I think Jackson Ferris has a decent amount going for him. I think Ian Ritchie, again, good pitcher. There's some good pitchers here. There's a couple that I do like down here that we can maybe talk about more when we get to them. But I do think that the pretty clear pick for me here is Collier. I do have a couple of other people that could potentially fall to me that I've spent some time looking at before. Judson Fabian is a guy I would love to have fall to me in the second round. He's projected in I believe it's the first. I mean, we can go check this real quick. I believe he is, yeah, right here in the supplemental round with the sixth pick. If he could, fall another 10 picks, that would be really great because this 65 range is a guy who can play center. You probably want him more playing left and right, but when I did win a World Series in a 21 save with Baltimore, this was the best player on the team. So there's a little bit of sentimentality there of hoping that he falls. Additionally, Caden Wallace is another guy I was going to consider with that first pick. Who's sort of a slightly worse version of Collier in a lot of ways. Just a little bit worse defensively. The big numbers and gap power instead of home run power. But other than that, there's a lot of similarities between him and Collier. Collier just kind of has more power, basically. And is slightly more developed. I mean, this 40 home run power already makes that a pretty easy choice. So we are going to go ahead and draft him. So now I'm going to go ahead and do, let's finish out the top 10 just to kind of see who goes where. Cole Young does then go at 9. The guy we were projected to take. OSA is quite a bit higher on him than my scout is. So if he is closer to OSA, then that could potentially have been a mistake not taking him. But trust your scout is one of the best pieces of advice for Out of the Park 23. Especially if you have a highly favored Swills guy. Gavin Turley is another guy that I think is going to be pretty good. And similar to Fabian with kind of some of these really good outfield numbers. The low work ethic kind of turns me off of him, though. But I think as far as a player goes, let's just go ahead and complete the round here. Just to kind of see who is available. So Fabian is gone, unfortunately. Let's go take a look at the draft log here. Yeah, he ended up going 15th. Kumar Rocker goes to the Mariners. We'll see if they're able to sign him. And Caden Wallace does also go with the 27th pick. So some of those people that I was keeping an eye on are now gone. I think some of the pitchers that I had my eye on are still around, though. So go ahead and go through the supplemental. We can actually just do auto draft, you tell me. Okay. So there's some guys here that are kind of interesting. Here, Jason Torres is a big bat. Low intelligence isn't great. You don't love to see that this is really a first base DH type. Yeah, can't play in the outfield at all. So you need the bat to develop, and trusting a high school bat to do that isn't a super great thing. RJ Austin is another guy who's a pretty decent defensive player, all things considered. The 75 speed is really nice. Unfortunate that it doesn't really translate to infield range as much. The low work ethic is just really frustrating. High intelligence can sort of make up for that, but you really don't want your first couple picks. Actually, who is this guy? Yeah, this is just, there's not enough bat here, even though there is a 60 catcher ability. This guy isn't really a catcher. It's a good bat. This guy's actually kind of interesting. Like, I don't think he's a catcher, but I mean, he could play all over and be an emergency catcher. but he's impossible to sign, so I guess that doesn't matter. Let's go look at some pitchers now. So Jackson Ferris is a guy that, I mean, he's really, really good, but $10 million, like we can't afford him. One of the guys I was looking at is this Bryce Osmond guy, who is a piece that I think is at the worst probably a bullpen arm, and he is 21, but he could play pretty decently. Probably wouldn't want to put him in high A. You could put him in A ball right now, and he would be a very good pitcher. And he's maybe 2 years away from being into the league. So that's definitely an option here. Plus, high normal is good. Levi Huisman is another guy who I really like. The advantage for him is that he has 4 pitches, which means if one of these doesn't develop, it's okay. Whereas, let's go ahead and just go into the pitching ratings here. Do they not have pitching potential here? That's pitch potential. I mean, you kind of can see down here, even though it doesn't have the potentials. You need all 3 of these pitches to develop, but they're all already pretty decent. So at that point, you're not as concerned. Whereas you need, I think, either the curveball or the changeup to develop on Huisman. I think the more I look at this, the more I kind of just think Osmond is the pick between those two for sure. And these are the 2 that have the advantage of highs on either work ethic or intelligence, the things that make them more likely to develop. You are a reliever, I believe, right? Yeah. So you're not a guy that we're even thinking about yet. Let's see if we go down here, see high work ethic, 700K. And this isn't bad. I mean, but it's just not as good as Osmond or Huisman. Let's take a look back at batters here. I mean, this is the only guy that was high normal as far as work ethic intelligence goes, and he's impossible to sign. So we aren't really going to look at him. Who does the scout recommend? Scout recommends Jackson Ferris, who's unsignable. Good job, scouting director. All batters, who do you recommend? You recommend R.J. Austin. Which isn't a terrible recommendation. I'm scared off by low work ethic here. I think work ethic is a bigger deal for high schoolers in particular because they just aren't as developed and they need to get all of these things up there. I think if RJ Austin falls to the 3rd, I would take him there. But I think I'm scared in the first 2 rounds to go after the low work ethic high schooler. So I think just kind of looking at this and going off of just how many kind of concerns there are about with these developmental ratings for all these high school bats, I think that makes me not want to go there. As far as pitchers go, we can take a look at all of these guys. In a high school pitcher, low greed. That doesn't really matter. You're relying on the changeup to develop. Yeah, that's going to be a no. Baseman we've looked at. Bogerwall, this is a reliever. That changeup's not going to be good enough. I mean, the 80 potential slider. I mean, this is a potential very good reliever, but it's a reliever, so we're not taking that in the 2nd round. This is low. I'm not even sure why I'm looking at this. I mean, if he hits on all the development, sure. But, like, low work ethic, low intelligence, you can never bet on hitting any of these numbers. Like, this isn't a guy I'd take until like the 4th or 5th round. Oh, and he also wants $10.5 million. Yeah, you can go to college. We'll see you in 2 years when you redevelop. You have a great name and some pretty decent pitches. You also, oh, you want $11.5 million. I need to be better at paying attention to that. Do you have high work ethic? 3 pitches, you're relying on the changeup to develop. That hasn't developed yet. I thought I saw he was from Minnesota for some reason. Okay. And I'm just kind of looking at all the 50s. See if there's anything in particular that jumps out at me. 750. Again, relying on that changeup to develop. 9 million. 100K. You're interesting. High work ethic. The low movement fly ball pitcher scares me. But I mean, 4 pitches that are 3 of them are in decent spots right now. I mean, this is definitely a decent prospect arm to maybe look at in next round if he's still there. I'll probably be thinking more about him. I like him more. 45 stamina means that's maybe not a starter. 2.4 million's doable. Oh, this is a reliever. Wait, this is the Mississippi State guy who blew out his arm. This guy's so good in real life. Like, I'm kind of sad that they're saying he's a reliever. Okay, that's interesting. Can you hit? No, you can't hit at all. You just can play outfield. I feel so bad for that guy. He was going to be drafted so high last year when he was going to be available to come out, but then tears his, has to get Tommy John, I think, kind of right at the end of the year. That's just rough. Taylor. This is an interesting arm. Could play him in A-ball right now. It's definitely something to think about. Yeah, so I don't think there's anybody here with the upside of Bryce Osmond. Who I think is going to be the pick here. We're looking at $2 million. Wait, as it says, demand is 1.1 here, but the bonus demand down here is recommended slot. We'll have to look into that, I guess, a little bit more. But I think this is where we're going to go here. So I do think that even if he doesn't turn out to be a starter, which is always a risk with any draft arm, these 2 pitches make this guy a very, very good stopper. So yeah, I think this is where we are going to go ahead and go in the 2nd round. We'll head to the 3rd round and see, oh, well, this is interesting now. Levi Weissman is still there. I mean, considering that discussion of wanting both of them, like, RJ Austin's still here too. But I mean, I think that, well, this is an interesting decision. I'm very surprised that they are both still here. I have 2.5 million available, which means that they are both still in play. I mean, I think betting on either of them to fall, so that'd be what's the 4th round is, yeah, I mean, RJ Austin's projected here. I'd probably have missed Weissman somewhere. I'd be pretty surprised if he was projected to go that low. No, I don't see him here. Don't see him in supplemental 1. see him there. RJ Austin. Where is he projected to go? This is absurd. Is he really not projected to be a top 5 round pick? Like, that's just crazy. A potential. I mean, was OSA that down on him? No, they say he's a 50. I mean, my scout's higher on him than other people are. But, like, I need to, like, do this one more time. Because I have to think about, do I play the ADP game? Here, do I see if Weissman will fall one more round and get RJ Austin and Levi Weissman? Who I was definitely debating taking in the second round. And I really wish there was a control that I could just control F the name. Like, I do not see it. I mean, one of the other things to think about here, though, is who would I feel worse about missing out on? I mean, I think it is RJ Austin. Like, do people just think that he's a reliever? Because, like, they won't. No, unless I just say 55 stamina. Man, this is an interesting choice here. Because, let's see, as far as the draft log goes. Okay, so Landon Sims did go in the third round here. Interesting. So, it's been a lot of starters that are going, and they aren't taking him. I'm gonna gamble here a little bit. I'm gonna gamble that the AI is viewing Weissman as a reliever. That is the gamble I'm going to take. And because, like, this is a guy who can play first, second, third, not really shortstop. Okay, he's actually not an outfielder. I don't know why I had it in my head that he was also an outfielder. So that changes some things. I think the fact that this is not an outfielder. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go Weissman. I think that this is a potential really good arm. Yeah, I would rather have him. And we'll see if RJ Austin sticks around. He does not. And the fact that he's still there makes me think that I probably could have gotten him. Where does Austin go? We took Weissman here. 23rd pick of the third round is where RJ Austin goes. So that's a little unfortunate. We'll have to maybe keep an eye on him. But sometimes you gamble and you lose. And I'm okay with the result of that gamble. So who does my scouting director recommend in the fourth round here? I do recommend this guy. Hayden Dana. Who, at this point in time, I wouldn't feel as bad about taking a guy that I think is probably a bullpen arm. But I don't want to pay 1.1 million in his demand to a guy that I think is that. You have low intelligence, but high work ethic, so those kind of counterbalance. I mean, this is definitely pretty decent consideration here, is Jaden Torres. Who do you recommend as far as bat goes? CJ Neese Jr. Okay. I mean, I don't think I agree. You play outfield at all? Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I'm not huge there. So let's take a look at maybe just some ratings, guys. So this is kind of interesting. Low work ethic, but high intelligence. You like to see that contact. I mean, maybe first, second, and third. Can't play the outfield. A decent bat. Um, Power guys. Yeah, this was a guy that I've been kind of looking at a little bit. I think the contact is probably too low, which is unfortunate because I mean these are pretty good. This guy can play decently in the corners. Could probably play first base too. He's 6'3". High adaptability. Yeah, I bet he could play first base as well. But the 35 contact, and OSA thinks it's even worse. I don't think that's I think the contact potential is too low. How about this guy, Lucas Schramm? Low work ethic, doesn't have intelligence to counterbalance it. High greed. He won a bunch of money. What was his demand? No, just slot. I think the low work ethic makes that pretty scary. What about you? Low work ethic. Again, that's pretty scary with all those negative traits. Unfortunately, he's a good bat, but playing field now. So that's probably not there. This is a guy we could get later. Sure. But again, I think that 35 contact is really hard to justify. 45, 50, 65, 40. This is a guy I could probably get later. But yeah, I mean, he's not like great in the outfield. But as far as just as a bat goes, I mean, could definitely do worse. Not here. 30 contact, no thanks. Isaac. So this is another pretty interesting bat. He's going to strike out a lot, but I don't really care about that. First base in the corner outfields. It's interesting. So I do feel like if I'm going first base bat, I'm looking at probably Torres instead. Because even with that high work ethic, even though it's counterbalanced by low intelligence, but I mean, I think I'm leaning Torres here. Is there any shortstops or center fielders? I mean, nobody with 70 range is kind of not great. I mean, this bat isn't good enough. I mean, this is definitely a this is a guy who can play shortstop at the major league level, but can't hit at all. No bat here either. You kind of have to figure somebody who's still around here. Mid 60s, a no-go for shortstops. You can't hit at all. It's really interesting that you haven't played center field. I mean, this bat's just not good enough. For Ackridge, same things. Joe Brewer can't hit. Marassa can't hit. Oh, you. This might be a guy that I grab in a couple rounds. I might come back to you because there's something here that could potentially develop. I mean, you're definitely relying on some TCR with the bat there, but and probably the same type of thing with him. But I think that probably what I am mostly looking at here is going to be the wasn't this a guy I was talking about as well? This is Julius Sanchez. So the 40 movement fly ball pitcher isn't great. You need two of these three to develop more, for sure, for him to be a starter. But they also are high enough potential that one of them developing. I think the up. Well, here's the question: is where's the upside higher? Is it this guy, who's a first baseman, really only first base DH, where you're really reliant on that bat? It's slot demand, so that 770,000 demand. Because that's I do think that is relevant here. Okay, Sanchez is basically the same thing. So I think what we're gonna do is Torres is a guy that I feel like if people were in on him, he would be gone. I'm gonna go Sanchez here. And again, this is a little bit of gambling. We're kind of in a pitcher range where I think people could be moving around. Let's actually take a look at Noah Schultz as well. So this is, I probably actually want to do a comparison here between these two guys' pitching ratings. So Schultz is better developed with his pitches right now. Slightly higher movement potential, but much lower control potential. 40's a little tough as far as. Oh, he's 2.4 million though. That's problematic. I think that kind of takes him out of the running here for being an option. So I think we're between Sanchez and Torres. I think I'm going to go Sanchez here with the thought of looking at Torres in the next round. He's available. I can make the 700. I mean, if we're looking at the math, that would put me at a little over 6 for total bonus demands. I can make $200,000 appear. That's not a problem. I can trade one of my relievers that's in AAA making $2 million. Like that's. I also need to look to move Randy Dobnak. We can get both of them. I am going to go with Sanchez here. I think there's more upside to this pick. Go ahead and go and see if Torres survives. He does. All right. That's a pretty easy. Oh, and that actually drops his money not to be 60,000 over for available budget. That's kind of crazy that is what happens there. But I do think we take Torres here in the 5th round of the draft. I don't think we gamble anymore on him following. I'm guessing it's the low intelligence that has been keeping him from being drafted to this point. But I think in the 5th round, this is a gamble worth taking on a guy who hits up to these numbers. Like, this is a bat that you absolutely want on your major league team. Even if he doesn't walk a bunch, like, this is a bat that's pretty similar to, honestly, Jose Miranda. Like, Minnesota players, Jose Miranda. Right? Yeah, like, the avoid Ks is higher on Miranda, but, like, the contact and gap power are pretty close. More home run power. The eye isn't great. But, like, and this is a guy who just won Rookie of the Month for me. So, yeah, I think this is where we're going to go ahead and go with our 5th round pick. Wait. Why is it That's weird. Why are you here? We're going to go ahead and draft Jason Torres here. And that will be that. So I do think this is where we're going to call the video. I'm going to do the rest of the draft on my own time. I don't want to make you guys sit through hours and hours of me doing this. But the one other thing that I will kind of do, I don't know if I'm actually going to take any picks here, but we'll take a look, is this is always something that's good to do, is to look, yeah, because there were a couple people that we were looking at. I might grab one here just to kind of show this idea off, of doing people that are listed as pitchers but are actually pretty good hitters and vice versa. It's usually more on this end is where you're going to find people more frequently. The people that are listed as pitchers but are actually good hitters. Like this is a guy that I wish this contact was higher. But I mean, like, this is a guy who's, like, these ratings are, for hitting, aren't that far off of the guy that we just drafted, right? Yeah, Jason Torres. So, like, 5 less contact potential, 5 less home run potential, 5 less eye potential. And this is a guy who would last probably quite a few more rounds before he would actually get taken, because of the fact that he's listed as a pitcher with 40 potential. He has low work ethic. That's actually kind of problematic. How about Duffield? Again, this is kind of the same thing. This is actually, I actually think I like this better. Yeah, this was the guy that I was looking at a little bit on my own time, kind of doing some draft prep. And this is, I think, a guy I'm going to grab here, who's actually going to be trade. Why does I keep saying Julius Sanchez? Oh, because I need to auto draft until me. That's why I can't do anything there. But I did get my 2 people I wanted, right? Like 4th round Julius Sanchez, 5th round Jason Torres. Yeah. Mini draft. So Duffield's a guy who probably would last a couple more rounds, but I also do think he's probably just better than any hitter that's available. And pitching potential, I mean, there's still some guys that are decent that are available here. A couple of high work ethic arms where, I mean, maybe you need this changeup to develop, but I mean, as far as hitters go, I don't know that there's a hitter out there. And outside of maybe this guy where you're worried about the low work ethic, though, that's a better hitter than that pitcher that we were looking at. So I think what I am going to do here... Alright, there's this guy as well. That's somebody I was looking at. I actually might... You know, I'll do like maybe 2 more picks here. So, as far as some of the options of, I don't think we take him. This is just so many oranges on personality class. And the low work ethic kind of turns me off. Like, that's not a guy I'm going to take. Hodge is right. The problem with you is the 35 contact. You hit 295 in college. That's it, but that was JUCO. You'd want that to be quite a bit higher. But if the contact does develop, that could be somebody pretty decent. On the pitching end, we're probably looking here. This is definitely a pretty decent guy if the changeup develops. Let's take a look at some of this stuff. Starting pitchers. So 35 controls, not great. 55, 55, 30. This is low work ethic, even though he has the high intelligence. How about high control? In this movement, I think is too low. And really, for starters, I think you want minimum yellow on everything. This is low work ethic, low intelligence. Yeah, no thanks. Unless you actually want money. That's not great. Yeah. So as far as pitchers go, we'd probably be looking at Evan DeBias here. I think the high work ethic means that it's more likely that these will develop. As a reliever, could be something with that incredible curveball. If he could be kind of just a righty on righty guy. But I don't love the upside. On the hitter side, I think we're mostly looking at Hodges because he has the high intelligence. The low contact is a problem. Whereas here, low work ethic, low adaptability, low loyalty. I think that's a problem. So Hodges versus the batting potential pitcher that we were looking at, Trey Duffield. So let's do a quick compare between not below, but Hodges. So contact is in favor of Duffield. By 10 get power, I don't care about. Plus 5 on home run power for Hodges. The others are the same. So basically, you're trading 10 contact for 5 home run power. I think I'd rather have the contact here, which I think makes Duffield the better hitter available. But, kind of like we were thinking before, this doesn't scream player that's going to get drafted in this round. So I think when I'm ordering my players here, I think I would take him the next round just to be safe. DeBias, I think, is good, but I think upside of DeBias is less than Hodges. I think the order here is Hodges, Duffield, DeBias. We will see how this goes, and then I will call the video after we see if we do manage to snag all of these guys. Pitchers, DeBias is still here, but I am definitely would rather get Duffield because he is a hitter who can play the outfield and first base. Like, you don't love him in the outfield, but I think it's fine. Draft him. And then we will see if our guy DeBias is here. And he is. So we managed to grab... Oh, he actually wants money. That's something to think about here as well, actually, quick. So that's 400 grand I have to make appear. That's fine. I can do that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and grab him. And we will call the draft there as far as the video goes. And again, I'll finish this on my own time. But I hope you guys enjoyed the draft process. If there's anybody you guys would have liked me to see and draft instead, and hit me up in the comments. But otherwise, I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of your day.